Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Jini, and in today's video I'll be showing you guys my Tamagotchi and pet collection. I do think I need to make a few parts, so this is part 1. I hope that you guys will enjoy. As always, I don't want to talk too much, so without further ado, let's get started. I thought about showing you guys my vintage tamas first, and what I'm holding in my hands right now is a piece of history. This is the very original Tamagotchi that released back in 1996. This is one of the re-releases and they're basically the same. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you may know, but I just love like the quirky Tamagotchi art here everywhere. It's so detailed and it has like a handmade feel, and here are the characters. Let me get it out and show it to you guys. So here it is. The battery tab doesn't actually do anything. I just left it in there because I didn't want to throw it away. It's a very classic Tamagotchi, and I do notice the buttons being kind of slow. Whenever I want to play the original one, I normally play my re-release version. I just think it's so beautiful to think about the journey of Tamagotchi. There are now even color screen Tamagotchi. We went from this to like literally this. We have the oldest and the newest release next to each other, and I think holding this in my hands always makes me think about this. So the next Tamagotchi that released after the original Tamagotchi was the Tamagotchi Angel. We do have re-releases now. This is the new reflection shell, and again, no big differences, but this one is just updated and the programming should be more or less the same. Here the packaging is so cute. I love this little angel character here. I think this is supposed to be young Mesutchi or so. Let me get it out again to show you guys. Here it is. It's so beautiful. It has this kind of pearlescent shell. As you can see, the screws were very different back then. These screws I don't like at all. I think they're so hard to open, and once you open them, it's so easy to lose the screws, so I'm not the biggest fan of those. But in general, I just think the shell designs were so beautiful. Not too much and not too boring. Here, let's show you a side-by-side comparison. It's one of my favorite vintage releases for sure, but I do feel like the vintage ones are, again, kind of slow when I'm pressing the buttons. I did clean the contacts on the inside of the devices, but it didn't really help, so I'm really happy that they decided to re-release the Angel. I mean, these things have been around for 30 years, that they're kind of slow to react. That's something to be expected. So we move on to my Osutchi and Mesutchi Tamagotchi. And these were the first attempts of creating Tamagotchi that can be connected. They came out in 1997, so just 1 year later. And as you can see, they feature this cap here at the top that may or may not remind you of the Paradise. Here, as you can see, they have these contacts and you can connect these two like this. I think that's such a cool concept. I love this about the Paradises, but I also love any Tamagotchi that you can connect to another one. It just adds so much interactive gameplay. I did run them quite a few times, but again, the buttons are kind of difficult to deal with. Yeah, so these are also almost 30 years old. I mean, it's visible. This one is, the shell is kind of yellowed if you can see it in the camera, but to be honest, I don't care too much because I feel like the yellowing is more or less inevitable with such old devices. What I really care for is that they're still running, and they do, but I do have difficulties like playing with them actively. I did try to clean the contacts with like all of them, and sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. That was Tamagotchi's first entry point into connecting devices. I'm so glad they had this idea because it really is one of my favorite features ever till this day of any Tamagotchi, if they contain some sort of connecting feature. Genjintch or Genjintch, and this is actually Tama about cavemen, as you can see on the packaging here. This is so old school. I think this is the only Tama that can regress in its evolution if you don't take good enough care of your Tama. There are a few pictures here. Your Tama can do pottery. I actually haven't had a full run of this Tama before. The next in line is the Tamagotchi Mothra. This one actually released in 1997, and as the name implies, you take care of Mothra. I think the funny thing about it is you have to discipline Mothra when it is destroying buildings. So funny. And just like the Morino Tamagotchi, this one has a cocoon stage, but this one only lasts for 1 hour. Then we come to the Tamagotchi Morino, and this is the one I'm currently running. Imochi, I think is his name. And I think this Tama is very special to me because the characters on here are just so different to the other characters that you can raise. It has some very, very unique features that I will talk about in my review thoroughly. But I actually have 2 other shells of the Morino Tamagotchi, which are these 2. And I just think the Morino Tamagotchi has beautiful, beautiful designs. And I'm normally not the biggest fan of owning the same Tamagotchi but in a different shell, but with these 2 I just couldn't resist. I don't know when I bought them, it's been quite a few years now, but I just feel like the shells are so beautiful. I really love the aesthetics of these 2. This one of course is also very cute. I love the leaf design all around the shell. One of my favorite shell designs amongst the vintage shells for sure. We continue with the Tamagotchi Umino that released in 1998. Just like the Morino, again, the packaging is just so charming. Just this whole colorful design, I really did miss these. Very characteristic and kind of quirky looking packagings. This one, just like the Morino, I'd say are very special releases that feature unique characters, a very unique gameplay. With this one being one of the neediest Tamagotchi I own. I've run it a few weeks ago and I died so many times. Yeah, I think it would make for a fun video if you guys want to see a review or like a challenge of running the Umino. Do let me know. It is also luck based if you can get your Tama to adulthood or not. But if you guys want to, I'd be very, very happy to run it for you guys and just show you how needy this Tamagotchi can be and that it is deserving of its title. Until this day, I'm not sure why they programmed the Umino to be so difficult to care for. Yeah, let me get it out and show it to you guys. This one is just very simple. They're very beautiful other shell designs. This is a Japanese device, so it's one of the Japanese shells. The Japanese ones are more simplistic, except for one that I know that has like a translucent shell. I really, really do love sea creatures, but it's just so needy and it's difficult to get it to the adult level. This one is the Tamagotchi Santaclautchi. It's kind of out of the season, but this is indeed a Tamagotchi where you are taking care of Santa Claus. Very unique gameplay. You basically try to train your Tama to become Santa Claus and to distribute the gifts on Christmas Day. And it can also evolve. Unlike the other Tamas, this Tama actually feeds itself. You have a fridge in this gameplay and there are different endings as far as I know. Then we will proceed to the Tamagotchi Connection series. These 2, as far as I know, are Tamagotchi Connection version 1s. Both, if I'm not mistaken. It's very hard to find information about this, but this is basically the first version of the Tamagotchi Connection series, and this was when they first introduced this infrared panel where you can connect them just like that without taking off the caps. So it's like an evolved version of the Osutchi and Mesutchi tamas, and on these ones you have a bunch of new characters, you have a few mini games that you can play. I grew up with the version 3 and that was mind-boggling as far as I knew that you can connect them with this infrared panel. I was so intrigued, you know, I was wondering, does it work if my hand is like in between and stuff? Just a silly child's thoughts. The Connection series is very, very popular. I do believe this specific release isn't that popular. There is not a lot of gameplay, especially if you compare it to the later Connection versions, but I really wanted to own these, especially because I'm just intrigued in having played every release at least once just to know the differences. Now that I'm running a Tamagotchi channel, this is actually ideal. So a bunch of people have asked me for a comparison video of all the Connection versions, and I definitely plan to make one because I think it's just very interesting to explore all of the differences and to observe the evolution from like version to version, you know. Then we continue to the Connection version 2, or like the Japanese version is called Plus, if I'm not mistaken. And these ones are not too different from the version 1s. They feature a lot more characters and more minigames, and I think that's basically it. I don't think there are like major differences, but just like more raisable characters and more minigames. This is the Tamagotchi Connection version 3, and as you can see, the version 3 actually added this antenna here. It makes such a cute design, and you may have seen the re-release version of this in one of my videos. The ice cream shell one was the first one I owned as a child, and this is not my original one. I lost it like years ago, and then the re-releases were announced and I had to get the ice cream shell again. I just can't resist this ice cream shell. The Connection version 3 introduced more mini games again. This is definitely not too different to the version 1 and 2, but because it's the one I grew up with and that I have so many fond memories of, I really have a hard time not being biased towards this one, you know? So the version 3 will forever ever be one of my favorite releases. It just has to be, because this is the one that started it all for me personally. Yeah, and I actually own a few version 3 shells. Isn't it just so beautiful, like with the star constellations and it being this dark color? And I actually own these two tamas, Keitai I think it's called. In Japanese they are not called version 3, but they're called Keitai. And this is a Keitai Akai. This one actually has red pixels. Maybe I can show it to you guys. See, it has red pixels. While I actually really like this look, it's very difficult to see on the screen. Even in the camera now, it's barely picking up the red pixels, but it's just really such a unique tama. But in general, I don't think they differ so much from these ones. They have different characters. There are slight differences between the Japanese and English versions, like in almost all releases, if I'm not mistaken. And for the Akai, there is no English counterpart. The Akais only came out in Japan. And I love this shell. It reminds me of late summer when you're almost in autumn, but you still have the heat from summer. A beautiful, beautiful tama indeed. And I'm so happy that I get to show it to you guys in this collection video. We now come to one of my favorite releases of the Connection series, which is the version 4. This version, we have the jobs added, so you can train your tama to get a job. It will also go into kindergarten and to school and then go to work. And I think this is just such a nice addition, and it just adds a lot to the personality of a tama and just this bond that you have with your tama. It definitely reminds me of the Pigs and Pigs party. They are so fun to run. This is definitely one of the tamas that I find myself running quite often. If I'm not running like a Connection re-release, I'm probably running a version 4 or a color screen tama. And of the version 4, I actually own quite a few shells. This shell I have very fond memories of because I got it from a very good friend of mine years and years ago, before I was like that deep into that hobby. And this has been with me through I think 3 moves, and it's still holding up. This shell is nothing special. It's very retro feeling though. I just feel so honored that someone gifted their Tamagotchi to me, because the reason for it being in my possession is because that specific friend of mine wasn't really that into Tamagotchi anymore, but happened to own one and gave this one to me. And at that time I didn't own any tamas. Yeah, that was for the longest time the only tama I owned, and it has been with me for so many years now. Version 4 actually also introduced skill points. The skill points will influence the evolution of your tama and also what jobs it can get easier, which I think is a very fun gameplay feature. And the last version 4 I own is this beautiful snowflake one. This one is also a little bit yellowed. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera though. Just a very beautiful shell with this beautiful like snowflake design. I do think it has a counterpart that is like a dark blue one. Unfortunately, I don't own that one, but I just think this is so cute. Besides my Santaclautchi, this is the only winter themed tama I have. The version 4.5, which has a few more features than the version 4. I don't know why it doesn't have like the star antenna. Evolution looks a little bit different on these tamas than on the version 4s, and it has different games than the version 4. And and different skill points. As you can see, it's a little bit yellowed. It should be this light blue color, but it's actually this mint green color because it yellowed quite a lot due to the sun. But I actually don't mind it. I think this color is also very pleasing to the eye, alongside my ice cream shell and the white Famalichi that you may be familiar with. These were the three Tamagotchi I owned as a child. So I was hunting this shell down for such a long time, and when I finally found it, it was like in not the best condition, and I was contemplating getting it a lot. But I'm happy that I did because I feel like it just adds a lot of character, you know, this being kind of two-toned. I don't mind it at all. Very beautiful and fun shell. The star antenna and just the colors, this green and yellow, I think it's so beautiful. And in Japanese, they're again not called version 4s, but Uratama. They, as you can see, it's not very visible, but they actually have blue pixels. So again, a little bit of a twist there. Even if it doesn't have the star antenna, the English versions normally have the star antenna, but some versions just have this ball antenna, but still have the programming of the version 4.5. The version 4.5 features different mini games as far as I know, and the skill points are also kind of different, but the basic gameplay functions are the same. And I own another version 4.5 that looks like a version 4, so these should have the same gameplay. I think the characters on the version 4.5s are so much fun. I need to show you guys a few cute ones. I'll just show them here on the right. The Japanese version 4s are actually not called version 4, but Entama. And so this would be a version 4 and this would be an Entama. The same goes for the version 4.5 and the Uratama. Moving on to the version 5, that changed the gameplay completely. Here is my beloved version 5. I have the Furawachi shell with the Furawachi keychain, and I never really understood how to play the version 5 because you actually raised 3 tamas at the same time. So you're raising the 3 siblings, and they can also marry and get children. The gameplay is just a lot different to the previous connection versions. There are different family types, and the family bonding also affects the characters, which I think is just such a cool feature. You can even get a pet, which is a little bit more complicated than on the color screen tamas, but it is definitely possible. You actually have a TV where you can go shopping. You can also travel using the TV. Some actually have asked me for a review of this one as well. I do want to go through all of the connection versions, but if you're not interested in the version 1s or 2s or 3s just because they're already so familiar and you're more interested into version 4, 4.5 or 5, then feel free to leave a comment down below. Then we come to the version 6, and as you can see, we came back to the pure egg-shaped shell. There's actually also a version 5.5 between the version 5 and the version 6, but I unfortunately don't own one of these. They are very, very expensive and very rare. As you can see on the shell, it features a few instruments, and this is what this Tama's gameplay is actually about. Raising a Tama that will be in a band. Again, there are skill points, and there's also a stress factor if I remember it correctly. Even in favorite instrument and the genre, the teen characters will form a band, which I think is just the cutest. And you can train your band to become a professional band, even earn a trophy with your Tamagotchi music star. Yeah, it's just, again, a whole different concept that I love so much, and I kind of miss this creativity with the newer releases. I mean, the newer releases are creative in their own ways, but they just don't have the same charm as the vintage ones. Actually, also didn't show you guys the Tamagotchi Friends. This one is, even if it looks like a color Tama, it's a black and white screen Tama, and unfortunately the contrast of the screen is notoriously bad. So if you do own this Tama, don't worry, it's not your specific device. This Tama is just known for its bad screen contrast. On the Tamagotchi Friends, you can actually collect jewelry, which I think is a very, very cute feature. Unlike the other black and white Tamas, this is a very, very thick device and reminds me a lot of the ID. And the screen is actually very interesting. Maybe I can show it to you guys. You can see the screen contrast is kind of bad, but you have this very cool multi-layered screen, if that makes sense. That's where they started to introduce the rooms and stuff. I do believe this is the first black and white screen Tama to introduce this room layout design. It reminds me a lot of the Tamagotchi Tama-Go that I will show you guys in a minute. This is the Tamagotchi Tama-Go. This is like an upgraded version of the Tamagotchi Friends. I love love this device. Gameplay wise, it's just so much fun. I really like playing it. I'll show you the screen here. This is how the screen looks like on the Tamagotchi Tama-Go compared to the Tamagotchi Friends. I think in the camera it doesn't really pick it up, but in real life this one is a lot better. Interesting thing about the Tama-Go is that you can actually slide this cap off, and as you can see, it has some contacts here where you can connect figures with it, and the figure will come with the characters, new mini games, new items, new food. Very innovative gameplay. It feels like a DLC, but you have this figure that comes with it. It's also very cute on the desk. I have a bunch of these figures and they came out in a few waves. I don't own all of them. Let me show it to you guys. This is my current character, and we can slide it, and then you can see this animation here. It actually has an icon that you can select for the extra content. Monster beater, shape shooter. There you have 2 mini games. One of the most elaborate and complex gameplays amongst the black and white screen tamas, for sure. This is the Tamasuku that came out in 2006. Let me take it out and show it to you guys. It's this very beautiful, what is that called, plaid design, and the sticker is still on, but I have played it before. There are actually 2 versions of the Tamasuku. I have the first version, and it features 3 subjects, and as far as I know, also 3 characters. You run a school on the Tamasuku, like the name implies, and you're kind of like taking care of the reputation of a school. You can get new students and you try to keep the popularity of the school up. The coolest thing about it is you can connect it to the Japanese Entama and Uratama. Again, it's kind of like an extension, but it also stands on its own with its own gameplay. It has this very unique buttons. And the last one of the odd black and white screen Tamagotchi that I have is the Tamagotchi Home Deka. It's actually huge. Wait. It even has a stand and you can just place it like this. This one was actually created to connect to the Tamagotchi Akai and Keitai. You can connect them here, and you manage a character that is living in a house, and you play games to earn points and to upgrade the house. Such a cool extension yet again for the Tamagotchi. Being a Japanese extension device, it only works with Japanese models. And here are my Tamagotchi. I've made a video about them. If you're interested in watching that, I will link it here. It's very stripped down in its gameplay. You cannot even feed them. This is really all about relation building, and definitely one of the tamas that has the least gameplay features, but doesn't take away from the charm of it. Guys, I actually noticed that I didn't film an outro, so I thought about showing you guys my current run. So this is my current run. I am running the Tamagotchi Morino for the review that you guys asked for, and I'm still running my Tamagotchi Nano Kuromi version. I got a new baby on this one just yesterday. I'm also running my Angel Reflection shell, just because I was so stunned by the shell, and these 2 Digimon devices, the Toho Braves and the Sayu Warriors Digimon Pendulum. I'm running them with the community, these 3 and these 2 pendulum devices, but it's too much for me to hold. I just wanted to thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions concerning specific Tamagotchi releases, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I'll follow up with part 2 very soon, where I show you guys my modern color screen Tamagotchi collection. But until then, I wish you guys a beautiful weekend. Take care, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!